Like it's going to turn out to be a busy 25 for IPOs. Bhavik, lovely to have you in the show. Thank you very much for joining us. What's your sense?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. You're right, 2025 looks promising as we begin the year. There's a lot of positive momentum. There are also some mechanics at play, I think, from a venture and private equity perspective that poise us for a strong IPO year this year.
Okay, how strong?
Well, I mean, you have some major IPOs that are being rumored about and discussed. So obviously, Reliance Jio is probably the biggest IPO of the year that people are anticipating in India.
What's the current round of valuation going at? 100 billion?
Yeah, so they're discussing anywhere between 100 to 120 billion would be the valuation on that one, which will make it one of the largest that we expect for the year. But you also have some other marquee names people are talking about. People are talking about Shein going public this year. Obviously, they're looking at London, not an Asia-Pacific exchange. And then you also have Flipkart, which is being rumored as well, Walmart-backed.
And the National Stock Exchange also in India.
Yeah.
Right. Is it safe to say that things are starting to improve in terms of IPOs and private equity, for instance? Because they did talk about it being a bit of an uncertain last 2 years. Yeah. It's been a bit start-stop, with the exception of a handful of markets, especially in Southeast Asia. Yeah. And why do you think conditions are perhaps improving to the point where people are more confident to go, you know what, let's go and raise some money now?
Yeah, well, 23 and 24 were pretty historically slow. So there, in many ways, there's one direction to go. But if we think about 25, there are a multitude of different factors that are driving, I think, excitement. Obviously, I think the most obvious one is post-pandemic recovery, right? So I think the pandemic slowed everything down. There was a lot of volatility, which makes it hard to price an IPO. There was also depressed valuations. So it wasn't a great environment to try to list. Now you have recovering consumers, right? So consumer demand is back at a level that is encouraging. You have falling interest rates, which make, again, alternative investments, more risky investments interesting on the public side as well as the private side.
I wouldn't say falling interest rates.
I think we see
relatively
easing
and projected perhaps to come down further as we get into this year. And I think all of that is driving a lot of momentum for the IPOs. But the other thing that I would like to talk about are the shifting kind of mechanics that you see specifically in Asia Pacific on the venture side. So if you look back historically from 2018, starting from 2014 all the way to 22, you saw rising levels of venture capital and private equity fundraising in Asia Pacific specifically. And in 2018 to 22, you raised over 100 billion of venture and private equity in this region. And what that means structurally is that you have a lot of companies that have been invested in that now venture capital firms, founders, employees would like to liquidate on. And so just from a pure volume perspective, you should see many of those companies, the winners, hopefully graduate, and IPO is one of the ways that you get liquidity as a private company.
You mentioned